Howdy, folks. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. We are here. We have a lot of games to discuss, some interesting rumors regarding a former number one overall pick who's in the tail end of his career. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. But we'll start with some pre-show stuff. And I have a couple nitpicky things, but Russ is starting off with something that really interests me.
Yeah, so let's talk about cheating in baseball. What's cheating, what isn't? Mm-hmm. So this one time that I went and tried out for the New Haven Cutters, it was a semi-pro team. Teammates of mine that day said, hey, when I was playing in the simulated game, if this guy digs in the glove, he's throwing you a splitter. I said, okay, great. So that's tipping your pitches. I blame the pitcher on that. Like if the pitcher does that and doesn't know he's doing that, he needs to change that. Mm-hmm. Okay. The Astros now are pulling the 1950-something move of, and I think it was the Giants, right?
Yeah, at the famous 51 playoff series between the New York Giants and the Brooklyn Dodgers. The Giants, it came out a few years ago in a book that was written about the shot heard around the world, that the Giants had a telescope in the I think it was in the scoreboard or in the bullpen.
Yeah, one or the other.
And their signal was when one of the backup catcher who was out in the bullpen would throw the ball up in the air, up and down, if the pitch was going to be a curveball or a breaking pitch.
Yep. Now, so the Astros, it's been broken. Mike Fiers is a pitcher, and he said they were stealing signs with a camera in the outfield. And it was interesting because someone broke it down on video, and the camera stuff you don't get to see other than we saw players making perfect contact, and really we're not fooled on pitches. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Video? And knowing how good these pitchers are, you should be fooled sometimes. So that was one thing. But what they did get 100% was somebody in the dugout banging the bat on the ground every time they knew the pitcher was throwing a changeup. And so that was coming from the outfield to the dugout, banging the bat.
No. It's even worse than that.
Okay.
Well, according to the Ken Rosenthal article, they had the camera. The camera was focused in on the catcher in between his legs. So hopefully he wasn't having jock itch at that point. And they had that as a direct feed to a monitor in the walkway of the dugout. Yeah. So they were watching that monitor and had somebody banging on a garbage can.
Yeah.
To say, okay, bang, 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 curveball, bang, 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 breaking, slider or whatever, and nothing if it was a fastball. And if you remember in that 2017 series, which went 7 games against the Yankees, Luis Severino, I believe, lost both games, and they were saying he was tipping his pitches. Well, no, he wasn't tipping his pitches. They were stealing signs. Right. So
now in this other video that we saw, pitcher's last name starts with an F. I forget, Farouk, something like that. He heard the banging and went up to the catcher and said they're cheating. You could read his lips. Now, the fact that the umpires couldn't hear it or do anything,
right,
is the part that Major League Baseball is out to lunch on. And right now, the Astros need to probably lose a first-round pick. They probably do.
It was a White Sox pitcher named Danny Farquhar.
Farquhar, yeah.
And see, that's the thing, Russ. That's not severe enough. That's
the money thing isn't anything,
no,
right?
No, not money.
A billionaire.
Not money. How about, like, I heard it suggested by Michael Kay, and Michael Kay is a Yankee broadcaster, and the Yankees were directly.
He's pretty fair. He is,
but he's pretty fair. He said, okay, well, what happened to Sean Payton with the thing in the NFL with Bountygate? He got suspended for a year. AJ Hinch, or the general manager of the Astros, should be suspended for a year because this is systematic cheating.
I would do one or the other. Yeah, I would either take away their first-round pick or I would suspend them for the year. I guess suspending them for the year is probably the better move so other teams don't do this in the digital age. But this is, again, this is a game we're talking about.
Right.
And when you're cheating like that, you're cheating the game. I know everybody goes, cheating goes on everywhere. And it's like, you know what? It shouldn't have to. The guys are paid a handsome sum to play a kid's game. and we all enjoy it. But you know what? That goes against the spirit of it.
Yeah, what's the old saying? It's not cheating. If you're not cheating, you're not trying, and it's only cheating if you get caught.
Yeah,
and I think that was like Jim Rome used to say that all the time.
Yeah, but that needs to stop.
Not that I take my cues from Jim Rome, but the thing is, yes, but the thing is though, we've seen the results. We've seen the punishment in other leagues. What happened with the Patriots and the Jets?
Yeah.
And what Bountygate.
Yeah, I mean, people forget. So the reason the Jets could catch the Patriots is because Eric Mangini worked for the Patriots.
Right.
He knew they used to cheat.
Right.
He went, and when he was the coach of the Jets, decided, let's see if they're still doing it, and they were.
And Mike,
at that time, they sent the New Jersey police to the locker room to get the tapes. So you could call Bill Belichick great, and he is, but you can't call him the best ever when he's gone to the lengths of cheating that he has. And Tom Brady is great. You can't take it away from him. But Tom Brady also had no problem cheating either, and that's where I have a problem.
And Mike Fiers pitched for the Astros, and that's the only way. And he warned his team that he was playing for, which was Detroit and then Oakland, that this was going on. Now, El Guapo says in the chat, the Astros should have to forfeit all their wins in the playoffs in 2017, and congratulations to the LA Dodgers. Okay, there's only one problem with it. Everybody will consider the Astros world champions.
Right.
Just like you can vacate national championships in college basketball.
You do that in boxing, but they're still considered the champ. It's done all the time.
You will not, I'm just using this as an example. If Duke wins the national championship and then 2 years later you find that they were, funneling money to their guys, they'll get the death penalty, they'll get suspended, Krzyzewski will lose his job. People will still consider that their championship. It's just It's tainted by the after effects. So no, I mean,
Major League Baseball needs to do something about this. When people can post a video on YouTube and prove it, something's really wrong.
No, and I know you're kidding, but El Guapo, but the thing is that has been the punishment in college sports, and it's laughable because it doesn't do anything. What you're going to tell me that if Villanova had the championship over Georgetown taken away from them because of recruiting violations or whatever, that anybody would consider Georgetown the champion? No, Villanova will always be the champion. It's just it was tainted because they did something illegal, and that's But two other quick things. One, manager of the AL manager of the year.
Yeah,
what an unmitigated, ridiculous friggin' joke. Rocco Baldelli in the American League did a great job with Minnesota. They weren't expected. They spent money in free agency. They were expected to be in contention for the AL Central, but he had 101 victories, and he barely beats out Aaron Boone. Now, everybody will say, well, Aaron Boone doesn't deserve to win because he's got the Yankees, and the Yankees have this unlimited payroll.
No. I the Yankees.
This time when they lose Betances, they lose Severino, they lose Judge for a couple months, they lose Stant for most of the year. I mean, they were playing with guys I've never heard of, and I know baseball. Nobody knows.
Their pitching staff was decimated. Starting pitching-wise was awful. They had two pitchers for most of the year. Yeah. They deserve, and Stanton was out most of the year, and Judge was ineffective for a certain part of the year.
Right. And they were starting Mike Ford at first base. I don't know if he was, who the frig is Mike Ford?
Right.
So Mike Talkman, nobody knew who the hell Mike. Yeah, no one feels sorry for the Yankees. Well, what?
Nobody's saying you should feel sorry. We're just saying this guy deserves to be mad.
He deserves to win, and he shouldn't be penalized because he's working for the Yankees. If that's the case, then every Boston Red Sox should be friggin'
face. That's all.
Right.
Wow, you actually you didn't even hear what I said because you agreed to that.
Sorry.
I said that Boone just has questionable taste.
Oh,
and you said right.
No, I was talking about what I was.
I know. Somebody could clip that though. That'd be great.
There you go. Now I don't know how many of our listeners or watchers watch the NHL Network. And normally I don't, unless there's a show like
I'll watch a recap show.
Yeah. But normally I don't unless I've missed some games or Hockey Central's on. But during the night I was out getting something to eat, and they didn't have they for some reason didn't have NBCSN, but they had NHL Network, and NHL Network usually will check in on games, sort of like the NFL Red Zone does.
Right.
And this is the problem. The Red Zone will go to games at key points. Last night, they were carrying Arizona St. Louis. It was 2-2 going to overtime. They switched away from that game saying, we're going to go back to it, and then never went back to it.
The NFL does that sometimes, and it bothers me. It's not the NFL. It's the station that run, the network. And that happens once in a while, and it bothers the hell out of me too.
Yeah, and a couple other things. And I can't remember what game it was, but it was a tight game. It was an exciting game. It was third period. There was a 2-on-1 break, and in the middle of the 2-on-1 break, they switched to a game in the first period. I mean, okay, this one can be forgiven because I know they want to, even if the game is a few minutes old, they want to bring the coverage like it's happening live. But you're misrepresenting if it's live, and it's especially bad when the crawl underneath the screen gives the score.
Right.
5-4 Florida in the shootout, and you've got the panel on NHL Network saying, "Oh, what a great like it's live, like it's happening in the moment." And I'm like, man, that is just lame.
Yeah,
it really is. I mean,
they should figure out a better way of doing it. It's not that hard. I agree with you. It is lame. I definitely don't like that.
Okay.
Before we get started with games, though, because I don't know how deep we'll get into the Boston game, but the fact that the power went out was hilarious. Although Mike Hoffman was in mid-shot when the power went out, and you do worry about someone getting hurt with the puck flying in the air, but they actually lost power, which is amazing.
Honestly, I didn't even know based on the coverage from NHL Network. They didn't tell me about that.
It was just momentary, but it's pretty amazing when something like that happens.
They cut away to the Anaheim game when that was going on.
Yeah, there were a lot of jokes going around, but that's something where you won't normally see. So anyhow.
Okay. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Wednesday, November 13th, 2019.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology. Things are starting to warm up again, thankfully.
I'm Michael Agello, and it's 13 degrees here, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. We're going to talk about some of the games from last night, but I wanted to start with this because I think it's the most interesting story, and it will unfold over the next few weeks. Pierre LeBrun came out last night before TSN's Insider Trading and indicated that the LA Kings, I think Elliot Friedman reported it first, and then LeBrun added to it. That the LA Kings have basically told Ilya Kovalchuk, thanks, but no thanks, that he is not going to play in the foreseeable future. He's got 9 points right now, 3 goals, 6 assists. I think it was 17 games played. So he's not been absent, but not $6.25 million worth of production. And the LA Kings essentially are a team they're not tanking, but they're rebuilding. And I think they want to move out a lot of players, including Kovalchuk.
Well, I mean, when the team's not going right, he's not a good guy to have on that team.
Right. And he's got another year left in his contract at $6.25 million. Now I heard something from LeBrun today that I think affects the situation even more. Even if he goes back to Russia, they get the cap hit of $6.25. There's no way for them to escape.
Well, so they can't get out of it at all.
No. There's no way they can escape the cap hit for next year. So waiting until after December the 15th when he gets the second half of his bonus, it doesn't matter. Now, the thing is, he's only owed like half of his salary or 3/4 of his salary, which is the base salary, which is $700,000 a year. And after December 15th, that's all he'll be owed. So if there's a team out there that's looking for cap hit as opposed to salary, they might be interested. But those teams would have made those moves before the season. Now they're all over the cap floor. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to start the season. So it's a situation that's bad, Russ. I mean, this team is going nowhere. And essentially what's been coming out of the Kings through various reports is that they don't want to trade Kopitar. They don't want to trade Doughty. But everybody else except the kids are up for sale. And they've tried to trade Kovalchuk, but nobody's interested at 6.25. And I don't know if anybody's interested in terms of retaining salary. So,
well, apparently nobody's interested even in retaining salary, or they wouldn't go to these lengths. So clearly he has no value in the NHL based on the salary albatross he's got. So they're basically like, you're just taking up space here. And we'd rather play somebody else to develop them because we don't like you on the team. You can skate with the team. It's fine. You can stay in shape, but we're just not going to play it. I mean, that's a strong statement from a team.
Now, I'll put this in context of something else that was reported and maybe say one had to do with the other, even though I don't know for sure, but I'll just bandy it about. Pierre Dorian last week was in LA to scout. It was the Kings versus the Canucks.
Okay.
Ottawa has a situation with Bobby Ryan. Bobby Ryan makes a little more than Kovalchuk, but he's got another year on top of that. He's got this year and 2 more years at 7.25. These teams have traded with each other before, but the problem is that, I mean, unless Kovalchuk is on board with going on LTIR or just not playing. I don't know if I don't know that he has any no trade or no.
He goes on LTIR. I'm not sure he could go to Russia and play.
No, I don't think so. But I'm looking up as we speak here on Cap Friendly whether he has any no trade or no move protection. I would think that he would have had something because he was well sought after by a number of teams. I think San Jose and Boston were the two.
We're all breathing a sigh of relief. Although if they watched the show, nobody would have picked him up. But
he's got a no movement clause.
Oh.
So he can block going to Ottawa. So really, I mean, maybe this tactic of telling him he's not going to play here is to get him to waive the no move clause. Because if you're not going to play, it's either. I mean, what's a worse fate? Not playing in LA or playing in Ottawa?
This is like that wreath, this ugly wreath that maybe like your aunt or your mom gives you. And when she comes over once a year for the holidays, you got to hang it on the door, and then you got to throw it in the closet.
It's the bad sweat. No, it's the bad sweater. It's the sweater with the arms that look like they were made for an octopus.
Yeah, I mean, there's just nothing you could do with them, and I'm not surprised any of this is happening. I knew he could get 40, 45 points, but again, I didn't like the deal. I definitely don't like the no move. I wouldn't have liked it then. He's not a good skater anymore. Like this league, you have to be a good skater. He gets by on the power play, and he gets by when the puck is sort of like, halfway down the ice, and he can play that game, and then they take him out. I'm pretty sure the Kings don't use him on defensive zone anything. So when he's changing, it's when the puck's in the offensive zone. That's it. That's his only worth as a hockey player at this point.
And there really is, and I'll just read this off quickly because this is the situation that Rob Blake is in right now, and most of this is not of his making. He assumed this position. Some of these, the Kovalchuk deal is on him. The signing Drew Doughty, which I don't think is a mistake, although $11 million for somebody who's 29, it's gonna hurt later on in the deal. But that's not the deal that's killing them. The deals that are killing them is Kovalchuk at 6.25 for another year, Dustin Brown, who's 35, at 5.875 for another 2 years. So that contract is up until he's age 37 or 38. Jeff Carter, 2 more years at 5.2. And then you've got, Alec Martinez isn't killing them. I think they can move him. Jonathan Quick, 3 more years after this year at 5.8. So they've got so many bad deals that I don't know how they're moving.
The thing is 5.8 is really not that bad if Quick were healthier and better.
Right, but up until the game, I think it was last Saturday, where I think it was against Montreal, where he was acrobatic and looked pretty good. He's been terrible all year. And if the injuries and just the age have taken their toll on his groin and on his hips, then that's a boat anchor. And nobody in their right mind, Quick is not going to retire. He'll stay active,
right,
so he can collect his money, and he would be stupid if he didn't.
Yeah, no, definitely would.
So bad situation with the Kings, and we'll see what happens. I don't know whether Kovalchuk is movable, even if they retain 50%. We'll see. A couple other things. Sidney Crosby has been out, I believe, the last couple games, and it came out today from Rob Rossi that he is contemplating sports hernia surgery to repair what's keeping him out of the lineup right now. He may try to fight through it and play the season and then get the surgery in the offseason. But, I mean, I've never had a sports hernia, but I've talked to players that have, and it's extremely painful. So the problem is that Pittsburgh, if he's out for, say, 6 weeks, might not be in the playoff running if he's off for that long. Now, Malkin's come back, so they at least have one of the two superstar centers. But this is a dilemma for Rutherford, because you want Crosby back at 100%, but is 80% of him for the rest of the year, or 75 or 80%, whatever you get out of him, better than 100% 6 weeks from now when they're 10 points out of a playoff spot?
I think we've learned this lesson from the Philadelphia Eagles and Deshaun Jackson not getting that surgery, and then basically trying to play 2 other times and not being able to do it, and now he can't play at all.
Right.
Now he had to get the surgery. Go get the surgery. See you in 6 weeks. That's what you do. It's not even a question. It's not even a debate. If they're going to survive, they're going to survive. But you don't know that he could play the whole season with this. You do know that after he has the surgery and recovers, that he'll be able to play the rest of the season. So to me, that's what you have to do. Yeah,
I mean, they're right now like on the precipice, basically wild card or out of the playoffs.
Right.
And it's a question of, and I think another factor here is not only is Crosby out of the lineup, but Letang is. If Letang was there, maybe they would risk.
How long is Letang really out for?
Well, they're not really saying.
All right, but I mean, he'll probably be back then. I mean, it's Malkin's team then. Let Crosby go get the surgery. Malkin says he's turned over a new leaf now that he's back and he's healthy. You know what? Let's see what he can do.
I mean, I agree. That's the way I'd go, but I'm not sure that that's the way they're going to go.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk about some of the games from last night. Start off with the most, just the most interesting outcome, because Boston, who has struggled the last few games, take a 4-0 lead over Florida. Pasternak, Nordstrom, Bjork, and Chara with the goals in the second period, all in the second period, and Florida comes back with 4 in the third. It's funny because Ekblad scored a goal early in the third. I was watching some of this game when NHL Network decided to show it, and there was a scrum. Trocheck hit Pasternak, and Marchand, with his usual lack of self-control, went after Trocheck and took a minor penalty, and Veterano scores to make it 4-2, and that just got the ball rolling. I turn it back, come back to it, it's 4-3. They tie it with 1 minute and 39 seconds left and then win in a shootout. It was the biggest comeback in the history of the Florida Panthers, down 4-0 going into the third. I have to say, Florida now is 9-4-5. They're in third place, I believe, in the Atlantic. They jumped over the Leafs with that win. They're still not getting great goaltending out of Bobrovsky, Russ, but
it's good enough.
Yeah,
I saw little bits of this. It looked like the Bruins did get tired. It did look that way, right? Haven't they played a string of games now? And so it looked like that was a factor. The one thing I'm disappointed in Tuukka Rask is that he can't grow a better mustache. You would think by now he'd be able to. When you get to a certain age, like I had that first mustache that, because it was blonde, it didn't show up very well. And eventually that started to work out. But how old's Tuukka Rask? 27, 28?
Oh, he's 31, 32.
31. I mean, at 31, can you grow a mustache? Come on, man. I don't care.
Some people are gifted and some people aren't.
I don't care about the outcome. It doesn't matter. All it shows is you can't run a one-line team forever. Right. There will be a point when, it goes a little cold, and that's when your other guys have to bail you out. They'll figure it out.
And I'm sure that the agent for Torrey Krug is very happy because Torrey Krug didn't play yesterday and they blew a 4-0 lead.
I don't think it has to do with Torrey Krug, but I get what you're saying.
Right. No, I am just saying that Torrey Krug is an important part of the Bruins blue line. Not to say that they don't have other good.
Not for long.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, if they play like that without Krug, I mean, they have the cap space. I think and he has indicated a willingness to take less to stay, but that means like 7 instead of 8. And it's like, okay, I mean,
there won't be somebody that they need that they have to pay. You know what I mean? They paid McAvoy. They paid Marchand a while ago. They paid Bergeron. There are other good young players there that are eventually going to have to get paid. At some point, they do have to make a determination and can't pay one of them.
Well, McAvoy had the 2-year bridge, I believe it was.
Right, so they're going to have to pay him still.
They're going to have to pay him, but Krejci's contract is expiring.
Right.
Marcus's contract is expiring.
They might want to re-sign Krejci.
Yeah, maybe, but they have Marchand locked up for another at least 2 or 3. No, he's longer.
No, he's longer than that.
Yeah, so is Pasternak. It's Bergeron that's shorter term. I think he's one more year.
And Marchand blew it in the overtime, by the way, because he had a nice breakaway. He missed on the shot. He grabbed the rebound and fanned. I don't know if you saw that play, but
didn't.
Yeah, that he kind of blew it on that. But again, that's just luck going against the best line in hockey right now.
The Montreal Canadiens won 3-2 in a shootout over Columbus. This was notable because Thomas Tatar scored the tying goal with the goaltender pulled and 41 seconds left, and then the Canadiens win in the shootout. Elvis played for Columbus.
Right.
30 saves on 32 shots on goal. Columbus is 6-8-4. They're far back in the race right now.
They're not good.
They're not good. They're not good at all. And this was predictable, and I feel sorry for Torts.
I don't feel sorry for Torts.
I do. I'm sorry because, I mean.
What is the matter with you?
I don't know. The guy had skin cancer and he had to take care of it.
Oh my God. Nobody, I mean, of course.
Everybody left him.
Okay. If you want to feel bad for him for having skin cancer, that's fine. Although you never said anything to me having skin cancer, but that's a whole other conversation.
Well,
I didn't tell you. But
how can I feel sorry for you then?
But the point is,
Toronto Greenhouse says sympathy for the devil.
Yeah. That's funny. The one thing I was very happy about in this game was that Eric Robinson scored his first NHL goal. And this is a kid who I watched for 4 years at Princeton, and his last 2, he just kept getting better and better. More of a defensive player than an offensive player, but in college he started to put up a little bit of numbers. I don't expect big numbers, but he's got good size and good weight. He skates well. He probably could be a decent role player, and I was glad that Yarmo signed him. I was happy to see that. Beyond that, I don't know what we're expecting. That this is, Montreal is eking out wins now, and I told you, Carey Price has a lot to do with it.
Yep.
He's, to me right now, the best goalie in hockey this moment, simply because when we were going over it offline yesterday, I mean, Weber looks great. He's lost a lot of weight. I saw him in the locker room. I've never seen that guy in better shape. He just had to lose weight to be faster, right?
Yep.
Now all of a sudden he looks terrific.
Well, he had to lose weight after the knee injury.
And Petrie, fine, he's good. And
Mete is a good young defenseman.
He's good, but he's not really good defensively. And and then we start getting into the Ben Sherratts, and it starts getting thin fast on that blue line. So that's why you got to give Carey Price a tremendous amount of credit. Although I'm going to be the only person on this show, and of course Mike will never do this, to give Jonathan Drouin credit because he's having a heck of a year.
Yeah, no, I won't. Now,
do you even know what he's doing? Do you even have any idea?
Yeah, well, he scored the winner in the shootout. I know that. He's got 15 points.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I still don't like him as a player.
15 points in 18 games, Mike.
He's wildly inconsistent. Like right now he's played pretty well.
He had 53 points last year. He had 53 points. I'm going to tell you what the problem is. The problem is with everybody that thinks he was going to be an 80-point guy.
Right.
That's what the problem is.
That's who they thought he was going to be. That's who they were going to play him at center.
Well, but he never was going to be an 80-point guy. But he could be a 55, 60 every year, and that's good.
Yeah. Max Domi could be an 80-point guy compared to.
No, he won't.
Well, I'm just saying that he's playing center. He can handle it. He's a pain in the ass to play against.
He is.
Drouin disappears for great lengths. And Funky, no, I don't. I don't love the Habs. Steve Dangle loves the Habs. He was wearing a Hab jersey yesterday.
Sounds like you're telling on him. Like
no, he put it on. He put it on Twitter. He put it on Twitter, and I said, "This is vomit-inducing." Okay, defensively last night. Here's your six for the Canadians: Petrie and Weber, Mete and Sherratt, Cal Fleury, and Brett Kulak.
Now I'll tell you, Cal Fleury has some potential as a defensive defenseman. He is not going to put up any offensive numbers, and I know he has no points on the year. Kulak we've talked about. He's like one of those guys. He should be like your 7th or your 8th. He shouldn't be in your everyday lineup. But look, the Habs have a weak blue line. It's the way it is.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the game that you watched, the Rangers and the Penguins. 3-2 Rangers in overtime. Rangers are playing a little better lately. Georgiev played last night.
No Mark Stahl.
There you go. But I don't know. The Penguins, like I said before when we were talking about Crosby, but without Crosby, without Letang, that has to sort of affect the in terms of outcome or the expectation. But I thought the Rangers played well, and they're still in this race. I don't think that they're they couple 3 wins in a row and they're right back in the race.
No, there's no question. They're right there. I don't know how many times I told people on this show that Adam Fox was going to be tremendous for them, and he is. And I think people now in New York are starting to find that out. He had a big outcome on that game. That was nice to see. Ryan Lindgren made some headlines, though, because he had a fractured rib, and they popped it back in, and he went back and played. Now, what I did on Twitter was I posted when I had knee surgery and I had like 6 months of rehab in front of me is when I first started being a hockey reporter. So I actually would go to Ranger games at MSG in a big, immobilizing brace, and I would have to walk up. Now MSG, you used to have to walk up a ton of steps to get to the press box that was in the crowd, and I would do that maybe a half hour before the game because I would go slow and I didn't want to hold anybody up. And so I equated that to the same kind of bravery, but of course it's not. Can you imagine popping a rib back in?
No, I can't. And I mean, I can feel for you in terms of like, okay, I had a car accident last November, and thankfully going to the press box in Toronto, there's an elevator. But in Buffalo, when the elevator was out, and my knee is a little better now than it was, when the elevator was out in the preseason, you had to take up an elevator to a certain floor and then take up 4 flights of stairs to the press box. And I'm telling you, if I had to do 6 flights or 6 floors worth, which is 12 flights of stairs, I'm sitting in the crowd. I'm not going to the press box.
Yeah, no. And what I would do is I would just stay in the press box the whole game and then go down. That's exactly the way I did it. But I was a new reporter and I didn't want to lose my spot per se. But getting back to the game, remember what I said about Kovalchuk. When he has open ice, he's really good. And he's been struggling to find that open ice. Mm-hmm. So like yesterday, Brendan Lemieux made a nice play, sprung him on a breakaway, and he buries it. That's what Kako can do now for you. And that's what he was able to do, like in the World Juniors and everything else that you saw on video if you didn't see him in the live game. The play in overtime was a great pass, a backdoor pass by Fox. Now, a lot of people want to just say, well, that was all Fox, but you still have to bury it. And he did bury it, and he followed it well. And so if he can just figure out, and it's going to take until next year, he needs more of a sustained speed burst. He looked like he was flying and had amazing speed when, he was playing overseas and everything else. But now if you put him up to, like, let's say Nathan McKinnon, it's a different level. So he still needs to find another level in his skating, and he needs to find more open ice. But again, It's a nice thing to see that all the other things are there, and at least the Rangers are starting to figure out how to use him better in the interim while he's learning the game. Because you could be a great player overseas. Right. You come here, and it could be very humbling. And it was very humbling for him.
I just have to clear this up because this seems to be a point of conversation in the chat. It is not a Star Wars cup that I'm drinking. It's a New York Yankees cup that I got at the stadium this year with Didi Gregorius on it. So I'm not a Star Wars nerd, so I don't. It's not my Luke Skywalker cup.
I did not watch the new Star Wars yet on Disney Plus.
What, the Mandalorian, or
yeah?
Is it about Boba Fett? Is that what it's about?
I think it is. I don't even know for sure, but
that's not a good sign when there's a new series and you don't know what it's about.
Well, they've had one episode. Like the thing started yesterday, Mike.
You can explain what it's about.
It just started yesterday.
I know, but how are you going to draw a crowd if you don't know what it's about?
Well, I mean, you're talking about Disney. You're not talking about me.
No, I know. I'm not saying you.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying with me. How do I not know? Okay.
No, I'm saying them. It's like,
that's a great point. Oh, that's a good point.
Like, unless you're a Star Wars nerd and you know what the hell the Mandalorian is.
Well, no, but you know what it is. Everybody, they're getting pulled in for the old Disney stuff. Yeah. How many DVDs do I have in my house of Disney stuff? I have Winnie the Pooh everywhere. We're not going to say why. But I'm just saying there's a lot of that, right? So, people are going back and watching like DuckTales, Mike. It's just,
Next thing you know, the next big blockbuster is going to be the reboot of Chilly Willy.
No, but they're rebooting the Mighty Ducks, and goddamn, they should not remake that.
No, it was hideous when it came out.
Does not need a job that bad. Oh no, maybe he does, but still, do not remake that trash.
No, and just taking a slight detour here for a second. This is why I hate Hollywood right now, because all they're doing, they've run out of ideas.
Yeah.
And all they're doing is remaking movies of the past.
Frasier's coming back out. Like, why?
Well, yeah, what was it?
Old man's dead. What are you going to do? You're going to start it off at his funeral?
This isn't movies, but they're bringing back Mad About You. With
I saw that. I saw.
Yeah,
I'll tell you why that's happening.
Okay.
Because Reiser went away for a little while. Then he came back, and I can't remember the name of the series. He did a series where he was in the country. He was a country club lawyer. He was good in that.
Okay.
And he came back in Stranger Things. He was great in that. So then all of a sudden they decided Helen Hunt's been around the whole time. She's been going strong.
And she's a great actress.
And so I think they figured, hey, look, Reiser's on the upswing. Let's do this again.
And they saw the money that was being made by Will and Grace coming back and nature. But Jesus, I mean, and no, what they made,
which was awful.
Yeah, they made a movie of the classic war movie Midway. And it's like, I mean, it's an abomination. I mean, I don't care if it's historically accurate. It's like, you don't touch a movie that had Charlton Heston and Henry Fonda and all these people, and you bring it, and you've got friggin' Woody Harrelson playing Admiral Nimitz. And I mean, come on. Anyway, let's get back to hockey. Right. The Coyotes beat the Blues 3-2 in a shootout. I watched a little bit of this game again until NHL Network cut away from it. Went to a shootout. The Coyotes have 11 victories. They're second place in the Pacific.
11 victories.
Well, right, and 3 of those 11 are shootout wins. So
that could cost them.
But the extra points help, but those aren't victories that help you in tiebreakers.
No, and that's a very real worry for them down the line. But look, they're playing good hockey right now. Clayton Keller had a homecoming, had a really good game because he's from the St. Louis area. That was nice to see. I had to correct Kat Silverman, though, because she said we all slept on Connor Garland. We didn't all sleep on him. Connor Garland, I brought him up on this show numerous amounts of times that he was a steal in the draft. And so I do feel like I had to take credit for that. Yeah, I mean, look, I tell you when I screw up, so I at least have to be able to get credit when I get something right. But things are going good for them, and that's a big win for them, no question about it.
Now, Colorado beat the Winnipeg Jets 4-0.
Beat them is a mild term, considering. Now, if you don't pronounce it Francouz, it's like Francais or something. It's like.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They started. I can't even tell you how they pronounced it. But he got hurt in like the first 12 seconds of that game because they rammed him into the post and he never returned. And
Adam Werner.
Werner, who is a Swedish goalie. I had seen him play a little bit overseas only because I think he only came in relief. I don't even know if he started a game like in the World Juniors, but he was on that team, and I had seen him probably in a prelim or something. He went in. He played a great game, and they had that, third goalie on the bench, whatever that guy was, probably a fireman or whatever he is, and Winnipeg lost to that. Winnipeg is hitting the skids. Now, if you remember, we didn't know what was going to go on preseason with Byfuglien, but we did have real concerns in the summer about what Winnipeg was going to be. We did. And then it just seems like with the Byfuglien thing that happened and other things that have sort of happened on that team, this season is in jeopardy now.
Yeah, and I didn't even know that Grubauer was hurt. I mean, not that, and I knew that Rantanen was out. I knew that Landeskog was out, and it's a testament to how good McKinnon is. McKinnon had a couple goals.
I'm telling you, preseason, I picked the Caps and Avs in the Stanley Cup, and I'm sticking with it, man.
Yeah, and Rantanen and Landeskog will be back.
They will,
and they have a ton of cap space. And to my mind, the only big question mark is their goaltending. And if Frank, however you pronounce it, I'll keep pronouncing Frank Hughes until I hear the pronunciation. But we need to know how serious Grubauer is hurt, or maybe it's just a cold or something like that. I mean, I don't know, but I still think that's a question mark. But the one thing is, they're getting offense out of, Matt Calvert. They got a goal and 2 assists out of Donskoy. But McKinnon, 2 goals and 2 assists, and Makar, my God, Russ, everybody, when Makar scored, and it was a great goal. When everybody saw Makar's goal, they were like, future Norris Trophy, this and that. I mean, I think he's a great player. And I remember – when he was drafted a couple years ago, people thought that pick was a reach.
They did, and it took me a while to come around on Makar simply because when he was playing in the AJHL, nobody really saw much of him. So I had limited resources to kind of see what he was. I started to get word later in the season on how he was. I went back and looked. I had him originally ranked 20th. I ended up 13th. So I think I came around on him, not to the degree that he is. Obviously, he's gone way beyond that in my estimation. But there were plenty of people that were high on him, and they were right to be. And this is one of the great picks of that draft because end of the day, they had guts making it. He's a point-a-game player. I mean, it's really spectacular. I mean, watching him, like I said, last year, I had such respect for him in watching him play for the college championship, national championship, because in the Frozen Four, because he was just everything.
Dominant. He was dominant.
He was everything for UMass. It was kind of an amazing thing if you think about it. So I had 6 guys that I picked preseason for the Calder. I didn't rank them. He was one of them, but I did I had a picture of Makar from when he won the Hobie. And so here are the 6 that I put in there. I put in Jack Hughes, who I think is still mildly in the running because I think there's still more he can do this season. Quinn Hughes is having a heck of a year too, by the way. I think he's got about 12 points, but he's behind Makar, granted. Kako I have in there, who's gotten hot lately. He's got about 9 points. We'll see. I had Taro Hirose, who's clearly not going to win it, but last time I looked, he's doing okay.
But he's been either healthy scratched or moved down in the lineup recently. I think the addition of Fabry sort of took over the.
Oh, yeah, Fabry looked good yesterday. That's another thing
I was going to mention that when we get to that game.
Yeah, Hirose's only got 5 points, so clearly he's not ready, and I messed that one up. And Emil Bemstrom's really slow starting here.
I think he had a goal yesterday.
He's starting to pick it up a little bit. Let's see where he's at. So 5 points in 18 games. But, 3 or 4 of my picks were solid. But I do think Makar is going to win it. I do, because when you watch him play, and I think I've said this on the show this year, he is not just a rookie defenseman. He is a threat to win the Norris. He's that good.
Now he probably won't
as a rookie because
there is that bias in voting that you have to earn your way.
Correct.
And we've seen that with Carlson. Carlson was 6th in voting last year. He may win it this year, but if he hadn't finished 6th last year, he wouldn't have a chance to win it.
Right.
So you have to sort of earn your way to get up to that level, and then. But if he's in the top 7 or 8, it's a miracle, and that's But
and I'll tell you the reason I came around on Makar, because Shane Malloy, who I would do Hockey Prospect Radio with, pointed out to me in the AJHL that there were overagers in that league. And I didn't realize it, and I think there's a certain amount that could be on every team. And so then when I realized he was doing it against men, even though it's a lesser league, like a junior A league, I was like, all right, you know what? There is something to Makar, because his skating was great. Like, you could see his skating was great.
Right.
Well, his skating's even better now, but he is just super smart too.
Well, I just want to touch on one more game, and then I want to take some questions before we end the show. Just to cover all the bases, Canucks win 5-3 over Nashville, 2 goals for Pettersson. I know that
yesterday, Mike, I pointed that out.
You did.
I've been pointing out that he is a top 5 to top 10 player in this league.
So he must have reacted very well to his first drink.
Gets 2 goals and makes me look good.
Now, the Red Wings win in OT 4-3 over Anaheim. Robbie Fabry.
Sorry, before we go on that one, something, I guess, did Markstrom's father pass away? Or if he's yeah. And so Thatcher Demko did something nice after that game. He was wearing a hat in his honor. I don't know what type. I forget what type of hat it was. I remember maybe it was the Winter Classic hat. I'm not sure what it or outdoor game hat, something, but he dedicated the game to Markstrom, which was really nice.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's sad that, and I guess Markstrom played the day that his dad passed away,
and he won that game. Is that
yeah? I'm pretty sure. I mean, I wasn't. I mean, I'd heard secondhand that he was playing that night, and then I'm probably sure he went back to Sweden for the funeral.
Sorry. At this point, Demko may be the best kept secret in the NHL. I mean, we've talked about him on the show because I've interviewed him.
Of course he is, Russ. I had to choose between him and Cal Peterson, and I took Peterson. So of course Demko is going to stand on his head.
I told you Demko, but
I know you did. But I long term, I still see Peterson being a number 1 with the Kings when they trade quick. It's just a question of when that's going to happen.
Demko will be a number 1 too.
All right, so the Canucks win 5-3 over the Predators. 17 shots, or 4 goals on 21 shots for Pekka Rinne in that game. Red Wings win 4-3. Fabry now has 4 points, 2 goals, 2 assists in 3 games, assisted on the game winner. It looks like he just needed the opportunity to play.
I don't know. I mean, they played him in 9 games?
Yeah, but where were they playing? They were playing him 3rd, 4th line.
Yeah. I mean, he does have great speed. We know that. Sometimes, though, Mike, it takes getting traded to sort of shock him into reality.
Maybe.
And to me, that's what I saw. A player playing desperate hockey like, wow, I'm better than this. And he kind of showed it that game. So if he plays that way, Steve Yzerman's going to look like a genius on this.
Yes. And see the trades that he's made, getting Adam Ernie from Tampa, getting Fabry from St. Louis.
Yep.
There are no risk moves.
Right.
None. 2 other ones. Kings win over the Wild 3-1. We talked a lot about the Kings.
We did. Well, we have to talk about, Devin Dubnyk's playing really good hockey. If Minnesota could do anything offensively, they would win some games. He's finally in the zone, but.
Yeah, but it may be they may have dug themselves too much of a hole to dig them out.
That just means to have a decent season. I don't know if they're doing anything beyond that.
Yeah. And the last game of the night, the Sharks win their 4th game in a row, 6-3 over the Oilers. Again, what's that?
Who was in net for that?
For the Oilers?
No, for the Sharks.
Oh, for the Sharks, it was Martin Jones. 23 goals on 24 shots. And for Edmonton, it was Mike Smith, 6 goals on 25 shots.
But he can really handle the puck, Mike.
Yes, he can. Yes, he can. And this,
like another defenseman out there, Mike.
Yeah, and this is the thing. This is the thing. Again, Leon Draisaitl, a goal and an assist. McDavid, an assist. If they don't score and score a lot, they don't win.
Yeah, because you if you watch their games, and I've watched 4 or 5, the amount of ice time and when they get used is insane. And here's
another big problem. -3, James Neal and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins in just over, well, for Neal 14 minutes, for Nugent-Hopkins 17 minutes. I mean, even when they're trying to play other players, that is the problem. I am not slamming on McDavid. McDavid is incredible. Draisaitl is also fantastic. They don't have anybody to help them out. I don't know how they win consistently. And they're, right now they're first place in the Pacific. That will change.
Yeah, hold on. I want to see something here. So just to give you an example, even in a Dave Tippett system, right? Smith is facing, now this is not saves, but he's facing almost 29 shots a game just in these 11 games. So that means some of those games, they probably suppressed it pretty good. And then other ones, he's probably making 30-something saves. Mm-hmm. And so that's what my point is with this team is they can't do that for a long period of time. He's got a .913 save percentage, which on the surface looks good. But again, in this league, what usually around 906 is about the average.
Yeah, a little higher than that, like 908, 909.
So he's barely above average. So Mike Smith is probably going to play Mike Smith hockey, which, again,
isn't good.
His career save percentage is .912. He's at .913 right now. Like, that's what you got.
Yeah. Okay. We'll take a couple questions before we end the show. End the show right around 2:00. So we'll take a couple quick ones. Goalie FP. We already talked about Kovalchuk. But he's asking what will happen. That if we knew that, we'd if I know lottery numbers.
Ask his wife if she wants to go back to Russia. He's going back to Russia.
Right, but I mean the Kings are on the hook. I mean, can they find a team in the summer that will take his contract? Maybe New Jersey because they have so much cap space, but I don't know.
Expansion draft? I mean, is he going to hang around for that?
No, I mean, the expansion draft is not this upcoming summer.
Oh, that's right. It's in 2 years. Yeah.
So, Esmir asks, when do you think that New Jersey will call up Louis Domingue? Well, New Jersey
is going to unless there's an injury.
Yeah, New Jersey has played better as of late.
Right.
So, with Blackwood and with Schneider, I think it's mostly been Blackwood.
I think they got Domingue as insurance in case Schneider gets hurt again. And if not, he'll be a trade asset at the deadline.
Right. And I know that I think it was Elliot Friedman talked about the Leafs had an opportunity with their backup situation. Domingue was placed on waivers. They didn't claim him. He was on the trade market before he was traded to New Jersey. They were not interested. So
Dubas was interested. Maybe Babcock wasn't.
Well, a lot of people, I mean, that's possible, but a lot of people think that Domingue's qualities last year as a backup were directly contributed to the fact that Tampa Bay was such a juggernaut. And that's true, but
it's also a different defense, different team. I would say this. If I have a feeling, and I don't know this, I would think Kyle Dubas, before he picks up a goalie, checks with Babcock now. Because at this point, he can't mess around with the goalie situation because he can really screw up the cap if he doesn't play him. Like, what if he gets the next guy, right? And then Babcock doesn't play that guy.
Well,
that causes a big problem then.
They're really limited to a $700,000 to $800,000 goaltender. They really can't. They cannot afford to do it, and that's why I have a weird feeling if Kaskisuo.
Who are the goalies in Newfoundland?
And Nobody that's even gotten a sniff of close to being an NHL goaltender.
Okay.
So I have a weird feeling what's going to happen is they'll give Kaskisuo a couple starts, probably the first one against Pittsburgh on Saturday, and if he slumps or if he doesn't do well, they may have to go back to Hutchinson again because there's really not many options out there until we get closer to the deadline. And they don't
Hutchinson will only play back-to-back, and that's it. That's how the season.
Yeah, no, but this is a problem because they need their backup to play more, but they didn't. They rolled the dice on Michael Neuwirth, and they got craps.
Yeah, I do want to say this. I watched Hockey Central, and I guess Justin Bourne was on it today, right? And so he talked about Zach Hyman coming back and said, yeah, the toughness is great, but the whole team needs to be tough. That's great. But then he said the Leafs just need to outskill the Islanders. No, that's not going to work with that in that particular game. They will not be able to just outskill the Islanders. That's playing into their trap.
Yeah.
You've got to play a dump and chase game, man. And if you don't,
but Russ, they have not shown any compunction or any capability of playing a dump and chase.
You should be practicing that at least for one of the lines, so you could at least try and get some traction going and keep the puck in their end for a certain amount, because that's what they hate. They don't like the puck in their end.
They believe in puck possession, and I honestly what they do entering the zone sometimes puzzles me. But okay, we'll just mention Islanders Leafs tonight. Tavares is going back for his third time in Nassau Coliseum. I don't think it's going to be as vehement in terms of
scores a couple goals. It will be.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying I don't think they're going to be like booing. They'll probably boo every time he touches the puck.
They will boo him every time he touches the puck.
Yeah, but there won't be like things thrown on the ice or anything of like that nature.
If he scores a hat trick, then there will.
But if he scores a hat trick, then I'm sure the animals will be out.
Yeah.
So last question here, Davy Jones asks, when do you think the Jets will go after the defenseman?
All right, well, that's a good question because they have Jamal Adams, they have Marcus May. I think the second round of the draft. Oh, you mean the Winnipeg Jets? That's a good question.
Not until the Bufflin situation is straightened out.
Yeah, they really do have to wait for that to get straightened out. It's such a big problem.
They don't have the room. They don't have the room because they don't know whether that $7.6 million counts or not.
Well, is it currently counting? It has to be, right?
No, it's in limbo right now because it's yeah. Right now, I think it's in a limbo situation because they don't know whether if it was a hockey-related injury, then he should be on IR, and then the money counts. Although if they put him on LTIR, then it wouldn't count. Although I don't know if they're up against the cap. They'd get some cap relief, but it's a situation where they don't know where they stand. So I will
tell you this, I'm pretty sure they will make a big time. They can only offer so much, but I think they'll offer the best contract they could offer to Dylan Sandberg whenever his season ends at Minnesota Duluth. He's got 6 points in 8 games. They're going to try and win another championship. But I think the minute they fall short, the Jets are going to come calling.
And maybe they trade for Zach Bogosian.
Wow. You don't like Jets fans, Mike. That was the worst thing.
I like Jets fans a lot. I do.
No, not after that. You don't.
No, I'm joking because Zach Bogosian is a Mr. Permanent IR. But anyway, we'll be back. We'll be discussing the Leafs, Islanders, and the games that happen tonight. Tomorrow. Thank you, Russ Cohen. For Russ, I'm Michael Agello. Thank you for watching.